Jason Bai is the quintessential Ibiza legend DJ. At Mambo, it was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, me and Avi say to each other now, it's like, you know, we didn't really know what was going to happen. I remember walking in on the opening party of Amnesia in 1993 with Javi. Franco Maraghi, that's the guy who was the resident there. And he was playing Plastic Dreams by JD. And that song and that club together is just made for it, you know. And it seemed like they played that record all night. It just felt like that. And it was just so good. Yeah. And there's certain DJs, you know what they're going to play. And I like the fact that people don't know what I'm going to play.
Hi, welcome to Loud&Unfiltered. We're smashing through the podcast today. It's a beautiful day in Ibiza. And the next one we've got Jason Bai.
Jason Bai is the quintessential Ibiza legend DJ. Okay, so right,
there you go.
When I first came here in '99, Jason Bai, one of my favourite DJs ever. Like, you still are, mate. It's like at that point you were the first English resident in the clubs. I think that was always what everyone used to say, wasn't it? Yeah. It was like you had that tag of being the first one who really broke through, and you played. I think it was at Amnesia, wasn't it? For
my first club residency was at Amnesia. It was 1995, and I did 4 years there, near enough playing every night of the week. And
so how did that come about? I've never asked you this, but how did that come about?
I started DJing in Mambo in the opening year in 1994, and then in 95 I came back and did the full summer, and it was just like really strange because it was like, you know, like you always say, being in the right place at the right time, but things seem to happen. I'd be in the right place at the right time constantly at the beginning of 1995, and there was a guy called Rafa Bertrand who worked at Amnesia, and he came down to Mambo, and I was playing there, and he said, "Oh yeah, we love the music, this, that, the other," and he said, "You come to Amnesia this Thursday. You come to the door. You ask for me, and you can play." And I was like, "All right, let's see what happens."
You just turned up at the door.
Yeah,
so
I played at Mambo that night. And then I got on my moped and put my rucksack with my records on it. And I rode down the old Ibiza road, you know, when it was just 2 lanes.
Yeah.
And I remember getting into the car park, and I got off the bike, and, you know, I think I even had a sarong and flip-flops on. and I walked up to the door, and I said, "My name's Jason Bai." I said, "I've been asked to come and play." And like, the security came out and pushed everyone out of the way, and they took me in, and they took me straight up to the DJ box, and they said, "Well, go ahead then." Like that, just straight away like that. So I was like, "All right, let's go." And then I was playing, and then after about an hour, all these foam cannons started going off everywhere. And I knew what the foam party was because I've been to Amnesia loads of times, and I had the impression that it didn't work very well. And then they came back down to Mambo, because none of us even had mobile phones then or anything like that. And they were around, but you know, you had to have a contract to have a mobile phone, and you know, it was like, and then so to get any information from anyone, everyone would meet at Mambo all the time. You know, every night there was always someone, you know, promoters, you know, from Up Your Ronson or Renaissance or Cream or Manumission. They was always in there, so I got a really good relationship with all of them. And Amnesia was like the first real one, and so. They came back and said, "Yeah, come and play again." So I just carried on playing, and I got on really well with them. And then they rang me up in the winter when I was living in Leeds in 95, 96. I was resident at a club called Love to Be in Sheffield, who I'd met via being at Mambo.
Yeah.
And they said to me, like, "Now we want you to be like the full-time resident. We want you here every day, you know, and stuff." And from that, I ended up becoming resident for Cream as well, and Up Your Ronson, because they were doing events.
But it's interesting, you almost got in there via the locals, by Amnesia, not
totally,
through the UK promoters, which has always been the difference for you. Why you were always initially like a step above everyone else almost.
Well, the thing is, it's like with Javier, the owner of Mambo. I met him before he had Mambo. He just had a bar in San Antonio Bay called Buccaneros. And I wasn't even DJing. I mean, I had a big record collection because that's the way you bought music in the old days anyway, you know. It was like you couldn't get the kind of music I wanted to listen to on CDs. You know, you had to go to the record shop. And so I went I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was just going around to bars asking for jobs. You know, I give out flyers. You know, I collect glasses, whatever, anything I could do to stay on the island. And I ended up going to Buccaneros, and I asked for a job in there, and he took me in, and he says, "What you good at?" I said, I can draw pictures for you, for like posters for your Coca Locos. Tonight, Coca Loco in a jug, 500 pesetas, whatever.
Oh, wow,
he said, do that then. So I sat there all night, and he just kept giving me pints of lager, and I'm doing all these posters for his bar.
How good the drawing was after?
Oh yeah, it was all just
lager,
writing, anyway. And then Javier's wife, Caroline, came in, and she had a bar in San Antonio called the Highlander, a Scottish bar. And she said, oh, can you draw the Loch Ness Monster for me? And I was like, yeah. So I drew the Loch Ness Monster, and then I was for her bar, and then Javier was like, oh yeah, she needs some menus as well. So I started doing the menus, and he said, well, what you like talking to people and all that? And so I said, well, my mate works outside PRing for you. He said, right, you go and PR with him. And then when I PR with him out the front, and we used to get the bar really, really busy, because like the guy I was there working with, Steve, we went to school together and everything, so we knew how to bounce off each other, and the bar did really, really well. And in the end, by the end of the summer, I had my own set of keys to the bar, because I used to go in the afternoon and put football on and stuff like that.
Oh, right, okay,
or people waiting to go to the airport, they would come in and watch a movie and stuff like that in the bar, just like it's how San An used to be.
Only Fools and Horses in lunchtime.
Right.
Yeah. Well, someone would bring over a VHS of like the EastEnders the day before, and you'd track that on, because like people just couldn't live without it. And then, and so that was in 1993.
I mean, I have to stop you.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, first of all, with Javier, what an absolute legend.
Yeah.
Like, you and him must look back and think, right, where it all started and where things are now.
Well,
but also, like, a DJ trying to make his way in the world right now, I'm telling you, he's not drawing pictures of the Loch Ness.
No. It's mental.
No fucking way.
Sending them to Amnesia now, I
think
see no
she's
evidence.
still got it as well. And so...
But that was how you, in Ibiza especially, you
I just was willing to do anything to stay here, I just loved it here so much. And so it got to like the end of 1993 when I was like just basically doing everything I can to work in the bar. And Javi used to take us to Amnesia all the time and Pasha all the time after work. He really looked after the staff and that. And we used to have such a good time. And then in 1994, I came back and he said, I said, I'm a DJ now. He said, how are you? I said, yeah. I said, I've been practicing 8 hours a day in the winter. I'm a DJ. He went, okay. He says, well, I've just bought this bar called Cafe Mambo. He said, why can't you come round and play? I said, all right. So we got in the car and we went round. And like Alex P and Brandon Block were in there. Mentally, I don't think they was at the time, but they were there. The body was there, and Carl Cox was in there, and Sasha was hanging out in there and stuff. And
wow, it's like just where everyone
I'd never seen any of these up close. It was only ever if I saw him in a club or if I saw him in DJ Mag or something. And then I started playing there, and then it went really well there. And that's how and that's how the old Mambo thing started.
From the start, let's go straight into Mambo. From the start, Mambo, it was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, me and Avi say to each other now, it's like, we didn't really know what was going to happen. You just didn't know, and it became a hub for everybody. It was like, everyone would be like, right, see you Mambo tonight, see me, because then that's how everyone would be catching up. And so you'd have like John Galliano sitting there, and with Jeremy Ely, and then like I said, you have Coxie, and then you'd have the guys from Cream and everything, and they were just always in there. And so it was such an easy way to network,
Yeah, just everyone in one place.
Yeah, the concept of the pre-party was kind of invented there.
It was basically like the Clockwork Boys.
Guys,
and they were like the first guys to do a pre-party there, and there was another party at Pasha called I can't remember what it was called, but they had a guy called DJ Pants, and he would only DJ it in his wife fronts. So he used to come down to Mambo.
Sounds like something happened nowadays, mate.
And it was called Love It. That's it. It was on a Sunday night, and then from then, like Cream started doing their pre-parties there, and then to now, we have a pre-party in there every night.
Yeah.
You know, and
It still is a melting pot of like promoters.
Yeah,
coming
oh,
down
yeah,
there
yeah.
and, like other DJs coming and hanging out.
I mean, it's the only place really that still has
like,
that magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, and I get to, you know, play the Sunset 4 nights a week down there, and I love that more than anything. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to ask you about, really. It's like, how do you prepare for that if it's like 4 nights a week? Do you have a special tune that you play, or
No, well,
depending
the
what
thing
the
is,
type of sunset it is, or...
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I've got a folder of tracks that I know suit certain sunsets, and like people will come up to me, you know, even 10 minutes before sunset, and they'll say like, "Oh, what are you going to play?" And I say, "I don't know." I say, "You know, I got that lined up, and all that. It depends what the sun does. You know, if a boat comes in
because it can change
front,
suddenly.
or,
Yeah.
You know, and so. And I never tell anybody what I'm going to play, even if I know what I'm going to play. You know, it's like
you got key bands.
I want people to turn around and go, "Wow, I never thought I'd hear that here." You know, it's just get them in, take it out of context a little bit, but make you feel like, wow, you know, I'll always remember hearing that song at Mambo now. You know,
I mean, I have to say I take it for granted a little bit, but the first time I ever saw the sunset at Mambo, Cafe Mambo, they played Otis Redding sitting at the dock of the bay. It's probably you, mate. I don't know, but it's like
no, I've never played that.
You're there and everyone claps and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? And honestly,
it's got that magical feeling to it, and you probably don't get anywhere else in the world.
I mean, you must have seen thousands of them down the years, and to know you're soundtracking that for people, like it's
I mean, you got like the sun's going down. Next minute, you know, you got someone standing next to you asking someone to get married. You know what I mean? And then, you know, after sunset, I put Queen, Another One Bites the Dust on or something like that, just to wind them up. You know, we all have a laugh or something. I do that all the time, but you know, depends if there's a few people around that I can get a laugh out of it.
So after that period, like in the mid '90s, when you started, like, you know, I mean, I have to say it again, like you rapidly became like one of the institutions on the island of one of the most known DJs on the island. You're playing Amnesia all the time. Very quickly, you're playing at Space all the time. You know, it's you know, you're one of the most solid, reliable DJs. Like
I am reliable. That I think that's what does do it for me. And you know, like the thing is I'll always make sure I turn up, and I'm never happy unless, you know, I've done the job properly. I love DJing. I really do. You know. It's, and you know, and I you know, entwine myself with the locals, like you said. You know, I know everybody. You know, it's like I just moved back to San Ann, and just walking around the streets and just seeing faces again. You know, and then they're not like Boise or Hassan. They call me Hassan. You know, Hassan. And all that, you
Jason,
know. And you know, and you know, I go out to the fruit and veg market, and they're like, "Oh, we ain't seen you in a while." You know, it's just great. I mean, it's such a great community here, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, when we spoke yesterday, I was talking about the exact same thing. When I first came here, I wanted to come here again for my kids, and I know you have a daughter as well. It's an amazing place to bring up kids.
Oh, unbelievable!
It's like it was anything to live here, really. I think.
Don't know how lucky they are, the kids, man. I'm telling you, growing up here. I mean, really. I mean, my daughter speaks fluent Spanish, you know, and she's loving life, you know. Like she'll come down to the bar with me, you know, get a pizza and that. And she'll get in the DJ box and, you know, have photos and that. She loves it. I mean, yeah, it's incredible. It's a good place to do that.
I was going to ask, like, how have you seen it kind of change over the years then? Was there like the glory years for you and how it was from the 90s then into the sort of 2000s and kind of how it is now? It's like, have you seen those changes?
Yeah, there were massive changes. I mean, when I first came here, like, for example, you would have, there was Black and White, and which was Alan Woolman and Tommy Mac, or Johnny Mac, one of them two. And they would do parties at Pasha, like Mad Mondays and stuff like that. And they would, but you would have one generic poster for the whole summer, including DJs, and it would have a list of DJs on there. And then, you know, then all of a sudden it's like Clockwork turned up, and then they would do, it was like the first time I would see an individual poster just for that week, and it was like, oh, well, you know, they're spending a bit of money here, you know, they're doing it every week now. And then I suppose around sort of 97, 98, you started hearing accents that you never really used to hear American people. Definitely didn't hear Australian people here or anything like that. There was just, you know, it was predominantly British, German, you know, Dutch you would have, you know. And so, like, seeing a lot more international crowd here as well is obviously because, you know, social media and stuff has really made Ibiza explode, really. And I'd go down. I did a little stint in Australia. I used to do the winter there and then the summer.
Yeah, because you were doing home, weren't you? With
yeah, home in Darling Harbour.
I mean, I'm going to tell you a little story here. Like, so what? Jason was one of my heroes as a DJ. So I think it was 2000, home at Space, legendary 22-hour parties.
Yeah.
So I'm on the dance floor, Space Terrace, best club in the whole world.
Yeah.
I look in the DJ booth and I see Jason by there, and he looks over and he waves. I'm like, Jason By's waving at me. You weren't waving at me, you were waving at my now ex-wife who you knew from Mucky Ronson back in the day.
Did you wave back?
I went, hiya, Jason.
I was like, who's that?
Oh, amazing. Brilliant.
But those, like Darren, what a legend. But yeah, you were down under with when you did home down there, weren't you, for a while as well?
Darren Hughes, who was like co-founder with James Barton at Cream, had got in with Ron McCulloch, who had I think it was the Tunnel in Glasgow. And they decided to open a club in London, in Leicester Square, call it Home Nightclub, and it would have another one in Darling Harbour in Sydney. And they said, look, we want you in the European summer. You know, you do Space every Sunday. This is like a phone call they gave me, like at the end of 1998. He said, right, you'll do the summer in Ibiza at Space, and you'll do Saturday nights in London, and then on Sunday morning you'll fly to Ibiza, do Space. And then, and in the winter, we want you to go down to Australia. And I'd never been there before. I mean, I'd never been on a flight, maybe more than 3 hours before. And he said, so we want you down there for like 5 months, and then you'll come back and do the summer around. So I did that for like 3 or 4 years, just chasing the sun, really. And we got down to Sydney in January '99. And, you know, it was an unbelievable club, a sound system designed by Steve Dash from New York. I think I can't remember.
Phase on.
Which one?
Phase on.
Yeah. Unbelievable, and you know, and so it went really, really well down there. I mean, the club was, you know, I would play for 6 hours every Saturday night to like 3,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and only members could get in at that time because it was just, you couldn't just walk up to the door, you had to get a membership.
It was so popular.
Yeah, and
really.
it was just before the Olympics as well, so you had a big crowd coming down to work in that area anyway, you know, in the food and beverage thing or whatever, you know, and getting ready stuff ready for the Olympics. But a lot of the Australians I spoke to, they'd never heard of Ibiza. They were like, what? And I was like, yes, this island off the coast of Spain. I said, it's not very big. I said, and I explained what the clubs are like. I said, you know, like every major city in the world used to have, you know, a club that you know, like, about whatever. But I said, you know, Ibiza has got like 6 of them, all in one place, you know. And then I said, and then over the years, you know, like you hear loads of Aussies here now. You know, it's like,
you know, musically at that time, because obviously the sound at that time, kind of progressive, tribally.
Yeah.
Was that? Did you feel like that was a fit for you at that time?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because when I started, I was basically, you know, house and garage. You know, like, but not like, you know, not like two-step garage. It was like US garage, you know, Victor Simonelli, Frankie Knuckles, things like that. And being from East London, that was very typical. You know, it was like, you know, that kind of sound. And then when I got to Ibiza, I discovered another sound. You know, I went to Amnesia and I heard. It wasn't Alfredo there. It was Marco. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me in a minute. And I remember walking in on the opening party of Amnesia in 1993 with Javi. And they were playing Franco Moraghi, that's the guy who was the resident there. And he was playing Plastic Dreams by JD. And that song and that club together is just made for it, you know. And it seemed like they played that record all night. It just felt like that. And it was just so good. Yeah. And then like so I went and bought that, and then I started listening to David Moreno. Because he was like you had Pete Tong on Radio 1 and you had David Moreno who was on, I can't remember the name of the station over here.
It was a Cadena Cien.
Yeah, Cadena Cien, yeah. And
he went on to do Global and stuff like that,
And so every night before I would go to work or whatever, I would listen to his show and he'd be playing like The Good Men, you know, Give It Up, pardon me, and he'd be playing...
and this was the only place you could listen to these tracks as well? You couldn't go on YouTube?
I used to tape it and... listened to it, and funny enough, I saw him last week, and we were talking about it, and he used to do these little raps over the songs, and he started rapping to me the other night, and it was brilliant.
Wow. When always intrigues me, like, so when those sounds change, what's in your head as an artist with your own taste and what feels good for you? As the sounds evolve and as the trends evolve, like, are you thinking, I don't like that, I want to stay with what I do? Are you taking a little bit of everything, or?
Well, the thing is, yeah, like you said, like the late 90s became very trancey and progressive, you know, like especially with like God's Kitchen and Gatecrasher and stuff, and even Cream, you know, because when I first started doing Cream in 96, you know, in the main room, you would have, but you'd have like Norman J would play first, then maybe Murillo, then Paul van Dyk would finish off. You know, and you just got like
that's a completely different change.
Yeah,
music,
whereas like obviously
night,
nowadays, you know, it's trance all night in a certain room. You know where you're going and what you're going to, and that's what it was like. You know, it was like you might have Danny Tenaglia finish off one week or something like that, and so, but I was just inspired by the best of that style. You know, like obviously when you know, Grease 2000 came out, and, you know, Cafe Del Mar came out, you know, them tracks, you know, they were great trance records, and so I didn't have
still being played today.
Yeah, exactly. And so
still do damage in the clubs today, don't they?
It's cool again, isn't it? I mean, if you look at artists like Camel Fat or Arpa, you know, that kind of melodic sound, it's kind of...
Yeah, but also being a resident, you know, you have to take that into consideration as well, you know, that you have to be across the board, you know. So I would just find the best that I liked out of them certain genres, you know. I'd go and see Danny Graham and Itor at Mega Music in San Antonio, and they'll be like you see all the records on the wall, but they'll be like, no, these ones are for you, know, under the counter and all that, you know.
Where would you get your records?
Yeah, that's where.
You have to go back to London and get them.
I remember Ultra Flavour when that came out, and we couldn't get a copy of it or something, and there was someone going back to England. And me and Stuart B, another DJ over here, like, I remember we giving the girl money, saying, look, get us a copy of Ultra Flavour. And she did. She came back and give us it. And like, so then that was the only way we could get a copy of it.
So excited to play it.
It was. Yeah. and so, and actually, like, a guy called Itor, who run the record shop, he was one of the first people to actually show me how to DJ, because I used to go and watch him because he was always on 3 decks, you know, and he was so good. And then when I first started playing, I used to take my records in and he used to say, no, don't do this, do that. Yep. You know, this is how this works and all that. And that's how it started with that. So he knew what music I liked and stuff. Yeah. And he would say to me, oh, you know, like Reche at Space has got this, so you need this as well, you know. Like he would only make sure certain DJs had it. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And you don't. Well, obviously you can't have Daniel.
Do you feel like there's a kind of disconnect sometimes these days? I don't want to be cliche, like, oh, it was better back in the. But do you feel like maybe there's a disconnect of art?
Well, I suppose
you've literally earned your stripes in that way. Played so many gigs and had that, and tell you how to do it in this way or that way, and.
I suppose now you just buy some of the people.
Press the sync button, I don't know. I don't want to just generalise it.
I've gone on after DJs that have left the sync button on, and I've not noticed, and I'm like, wow, I'm tight today, man. You know, I'm really on it, and then I'm like, all the syncs on like that. And then
did you leave it on, or did you take it off?
I'm about to say, how'd you turn this off like that? You know, because I don't want who's coming on next after me going like, oh yeah, He's got the sync on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, each to their own. You know, it's like, you know, you know, now, you know, you got to have an Instagram following now and all that before you.
Yeah, we were just speaking about that, weren't we?
You know, I mean, like, I got offered something in Slovakia recently. And then so I sent over the bio, sent all the videos of me playing at the clubs here and stuff, and all the music I produced and all that. And they said, oh, but your Instagram count's a bit low. I was like, well, you're looking for the wrong DJ. You're looking for the wrong DJ,
There's a different type of DJ to what maybe it's now.
But I guess in that instance, though, that's not right for you. Anyway,
I mean, I get plenty of social media coverage because, like, playing, you know, constantly playing at clubs like High.
But if that's what they're after, for you, it's
I mean, at Mambo, I mean, you know, it's got to be the most photographed DJ box in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got a great social media crew down there that are filming every night, and they're actually getting really, really good now. Don't they? They'll set cameras up in different parts of the bar, and it make it more cinematic. and it looks really, really good. Rather than like having people like staring at a camera or whatever, they're just making you feel like when you watch it, you're actually there, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And I love that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, are you still like hungry about new music?
Yeah,
Like
totally. Yeah, totally.
What the sound of the... I can't even describe what the sound of.
I mean, I don't really follow trends now because I think it's you don't have to. I think you know, like because you know, there's certain DJs you know what they're going to play, and I like the fact that people don't know what I'm going to play. Yeah. You know, and I always suit wherever I am. You know, it's like people say, "Have you got your set ready?" And I said, "Well, look, I know there's certain records I want to play tonight, but if I don't think it's going to work, I mean, I always remember that with Sasha when he did the music remix for Madonna." And we were playing at Space, and I went into the DJ box, and he had a big pile of vinyl just of that track, and he said, "Yeah, take one, and whoever else wants one, and all that."
I bought loads with it.
Yeah, and I said to him, like, "Are you going to put it on then?" And he went in a bit, and he ended up not playing it. I said, "Why didn't you play it?" He went, "Well, it just didn't suit the night." Yeah. You know, he said, if I thought it would have suited it, and I thought that's the way to be.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
you got to play to the crowd.
Yeah, totally. I mean, end of the day, they're the bread and butter.
Yeah. Did you feel like, I mean, again, throughout your career, did you ever feel like there was a pressure for you to like try and not do more, but like try and be something you weren't?
Yeah, I did. I
did who you were.
I reckon sort of maybe, you know, around maybe 2003, 2004.
Like maybe when you were having to go to Australia, like it was like this is the path you need to go down.
Well, when you went to Australia, they just wanted to hear new music because they knew that because I was still playing vinyl then. It was like, you know, that it was a lot harder for them to get records down there, you know. So it would take longer for them to end up filtering down there.
Yeah.
So I would turn up, you know, I'd make sure I got loads of new records, you know, at the end of the summer. And usually whatever was massive here in the summer would be massive everywhere else during the winter. Yep. Whereas now, you know, with the internet and stuff, everything is instant. You know, and now, you know, I couldn't even pick for the last 10 years what was the biggest track of each year, whereas back then you knew, like, you know, like, I might get the years wrong here, but, you know, Professional Widow would have been 96, and, you know, and then Grease 2000 would have been 98. You know, you can pick them tunes and say they were the big tunes, you know.
Yeah, I think Sammy's Heater, that was
that was one.
One of the first years I remember.
But still even
I think
then,
that was the last time I remember what the biggest tune of the summer was.
But even then, that was a tune of the summer. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really happen.
No, you don't really get that. Well, obviously because the market is saturated now. It's so much, you know. Back then, you know, you had to pay somebody to master your track and you know, get it on vinyl, you know. It just wasn't, you know.
So what do you think about that then? That obviously it's opened up a lot more for anyone to be able to do it, but.
Well, obviously, Pete, like back then, you know, you had to fund it. So, you know, you did that by doing as many gigs as you could, you know, and then if a record label weren't interested, you would go out and do it off your own back, you know. Whereas now it's like, you know, you can make something and just put it up. But then there are people that can't afford all what the costs were back then, but who are very good and are getting the opportunity to put their music out for next to nothing, you know.
And like, how do you feel like the clubs are changing now? What's it like playing now compared to what it was like playing back then, or sorry, not back then, or just kind of through the years?
Well, it's a lot more professional now. Yeah, it's a lot more professional. I mean, Space was wild. I mean, you didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, there was punters. Well, and DJs getting taken out the back door into an ambulance, going to the hospital, and they'd be back 3 hours later. Do you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous.
That is the glory days.
There was people climbing over the walls to get in, and I mean, it was just.
You know what? I actually feel sorry for people that didn't actually get to experience that. And I mean, Ibiza still has. It's amazing when people come here and they fall in love with it. But there was something special about those days.
I always say, I think everybody has their Ibiza moment. You know, I had mine when I walked into Amnesia and I heard Plastic Dreams, you know, and that's not to say that someone's going to come here for the first time this year and something's going to connect with them.
They have the same feeling we did.
Yeah.
However long ago it was.
Totally,
It's just a different sound and a different place.
Yeah, it was better back then, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going on that, like, you've inspired so many DJs, like, coming to Ibiza with like, talking about this dream. Like, what advice would you give to someone coming to Ibiza to try and be a DJ, or does that still happen
And you must get that all the time. People must ask you
learn how to draw the Loch Ness Monster. Stick to your gut instincts. Do you know what I mean? If you feel that what you're going to do is going to make a party happen, then don't go in there and do what everyone else expects you to do. Go in and be true to yourself and just work hard, you know, and just be approachable, you know, don't be stuck up your own arse, you know, like, open your mind
to... Don't be a cunt, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, and, you know, don't try and be don't try and pretend to be someone that you're not, because you'll get picked out straight away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We used to have people coming over and say, yeah, I'm me and Coxie, or me and this and all that.
Yeah.
And you knew it was a load of bollocks, you know, and it was like, and then people are not around anymore, you know, but there was, you know, there's so many genuine people out there that are willing to give you a chance if you make yourself ready to do that. I mean, I've given loads of people chances when they come over, you know, like, and I said, well, look, come down and play with me, do you know what I mean? I'll help you out, do you know, because I think you're good. You know, people have done that for me. Why shouldn't I give that back? You know, unless they nick my gig. You know,
that's
so you got to be careful.
I mean, everyone could be. I mean, it used to be everyone wanted to be in a band, didn't they?
The old knife in the back, that can happen every now and then.
But you got a big long list of them, haven't you?
Oh wow, amazing!
I think I know a few of them actually.
They're not around anymore. Put it that way.
Not either. Yeah, you're right.
Do you think Ibiza is like kind of losing its soul a little bit, or it's like or the island's changed forever, or you can still go and find those special places?
Yeah, there is loads of special places over here still. I mean, things that I don't even know is going on. I've ended up in parties where, you know, there's a big round wooden door and you just roll it across and you go in and you're like in a cave and that. And I'm like, and I just like, you know, Rudy Silver's in there playing, do you know what I mean? Saying like that, and you're like, wow, and I didn't know, no one, you know,
there's still magic.
They're still going. Yeah. You know, so I know there's one guy I've played for a few times, and he's got a bar and a studio. It must be 4 floors under his villa. You know, you can only get down to it by an elevator and all stuff like that. You know, and it's just so there's people still doing, you know, the old school kind of happening and stuff. And you know, and the clubs really are just, you know, I mean, a lot of them still look familiar to how they used to be. I mean, when I used to play at Amnesia, we had a glass roof. And
there was no roof on the terrace.
Yeah, there was no roof on the terrace.
Originally,
but that glass roof at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning when the sun come up, like the maintenance guy would come in and there'd be a box there with a key on it. He's the only one got the key. And he used to open the box and he'd be like, Listo? I say, yeah. And he'd just press it. And, you know, I'd have like Gat Decor Passion playing while the roof is open. And everyone's like, you know, the fresh air.
I love it how all your memories.
But they're the things that stand out.
You got a track that goes with that memory.
That's the thing.
That's what I love about music.
Yeah, I identify everything like that. And I was even talking to someone the other day about, you know, certain records and that. I say, well, you know, most of the time, when I was looking for a record through the box, it would just go by the cover, and I would forget who it was by or whatever. But because I knew the cover,
instinctively you knew it, yeah.
Yeah, you just know. Whereas now, you know, I'm gonna have to start wearing glasses or contact lenses. You know, I'm lucky on the new 3000s they make the letters go bigger, you know, so I can see them properly. You know, so I know what I'm playing.
I was gonna ask you, like, one of the things that's happened in Ibiza recently is the kind of nostalgia nights, kind of the classic nights, have become really popular again.
Yeah.
Clockwork again, a classic example of that. That, you know, Danny disappeared for ages and didn't do any parties and came back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Like when you get asked to play for an event like that, obviously I'm sure you enjoy it. And love it.
Totally, yeah.
But like, is there any element of that where you're like, you don't want to only be doing that type of thing, or?
I mean, I can't deny that. It's part of my past, you know. Them records are part of my life, and I just try and be as clever as I can because I know what the other guys are going to play. And then I like the fact, you know, like I'll be playing with Andy Manson at Clockwork or something, and we remember the track, and he'd go, I never would have thought of that song ever again if no one had played it to me. And that's what I do. I'll go back and I'll pull out the classics that people have forgotten about, not the mainstream ones, the ones that, you know, used to be in between classics. All the big ones anyway. You know, and I do it that way. And, you know, and I mean, there's certain records I will always love playing. And the Clockwork parties and stuff like that, they're good because, you know, it just makes you grounded, you know. This is where I came from, you know. All these people used to come and see me play back then. And they're coming out
again,
yeah, you know, and it's like, and I can't deny them now, and I can't deny myself that. And, I mean, I think it's different if, you know, it's a new night and, we're just a classic house night, but we've got no history. Then that's different, you know. I suppose they would expect you to turn up and just play all the hits or whatever. But, I mean, a lot of my sets anyway, you know, I could be like playing 90% new stuff, and I'll always leave a space, you know, to play certain records that I love playing. You know, that people identify with me. You know, people, they come to Mambo, and before they even get to the DJ box, they say, we always know when you're playing. You know, it's like, might be playing a John Michel Jar track or something like that at Sunset, you know, and he said, we don't hear anybody else doing that. Yeah. You know, especially like with Jose not around and stuff anymore. It's like, you know, it's, you know, you got to keep that going. You got to keep the island needs something different always.
Yeah, you got to keep that legacy.
Yeah.
And you guys are kind of pushing that forward and reminding people of those old records and things like that. Where some of the new school coming are just playing tunes that they found a beat.
Well, a lot of the new school, they weren't even born when
I think it's really
them
important
tracks
for the
came.
island, the
Yeah.
history of it. And new people do come into Ireland, and it's like, then they're hearing these records and they're going to research about what it used to be like here as well, definitely.
No, but I love that. You know, I'll go on small Belgian labels or French labels, stuff like that. And I'll go, like I said with Andy, I said, like, wow, I never thought I'd hear that one again. You know, and then I get it, and then I can't wait to play that when I do one of these
still
events.
Get excited about it.
And it just so many memories come back. I mean, you're right. With it, you know, connecting music with your memories is the only way I can do it.
So just on that, then, is there a set that I mean, there's probably loads, but one that really stands out for you that?
Yeah, when I get home alive.
When a long set. Well, what is the longest set that you've
11 hours at Amnesia.
Oh, really?
Closing party 1997, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I did 5 hours on the terrace and 6 hours in the main room, something like that. We went on till like midday or something.
Oh, wow. Right.
I mean, there's loads of gigs. I mean, there was on New Year's Eve 1999, I played Bondi Beach to 20,000 people with Coxie.
Yeah,
and then he flew off and did New Year in again in Honolulu.
Yeah, because you go back in time, aren't you? Yeah, time going there.
And then, I mean, playing at Space, I mean, every Sunday was just unbelievable. I mean, it was just...
Well, that was my first entry point into Ibiza land, and then I'd literally go to Space on Sundays. I mean, I want whatever I do, I'm working in this industry somehow.
Yeah, it just bites you, doesn't it? And that's it.
Massively.
There was something about Space Terrace at that time when it was like 1,000 people had just been roped in from the streets randomly. A German guy in Speedos, a Scouser in a Liverpool top.
No, totally.
And thrown all together.
Yeah, that was the magic.
And the music as well had that. It was just kind of feel good a little bit. It wasn't too moody.
Yeah.
It wasn't too moody. It wasn't too like dark.
Yeah.
It was, a plane went over and everyone cheered.
Yeah. Especially if the plane went over when you was in a breakdown of a track. I mean, that was just the best bit. It was incredible. Yeah, and you're right. It was like, it was that mixture of people meeting up that you would never put them together. And obviously, because Space was used to open at 6 o'clock in the morning, you'd get all the staff from the other clubs to go out for a drink after work like you do, So, they'd have all the other security guards from Amnesia and Coup and stuff would be there, all the bar staff from all the other places, all the dancers from Pasha would be in there, after work. And then all of a sudden, like you said, you got a bunch of Scousers in there and all that, and Yusuf and all them lot causing havoc.
Amazing, man. It's just, as you said, it's just a huge melting pot of
and that was the magic,
like
sorry, I want to ask. You've been around on the island longer even than I, so I wanted to ask you, kind of to wrap up a little bit. What are the things that you think are issues for the island that we need to think about or change, or difficulties that maybe from the outside that kind of people don't see it, or that we need to just be aware of, or I'm talking about musically, island wise, tourism wise, whatever it may be.
I think there's too many people at some point on the island. I mean, you can't even drive anywhere in August, really, can you?
Ridiculous.
I think I don't know. I mean, I suppose I'm in my own little bubble, really. It's like I play 6 nights a week. I make sure that the gigs I do are the ones that make me happy.
Yeah, so you pick and choose.
Yeah.
I
don't just take any gig.
Yeah.
I think there's enough parties to go around, but there is a lot. It's like back in the day. Everyone knew.
Especially this year now. With another club.
But I mean, the infrastructure has got a lot better here to accommodate a lot more people. And I don't know. I'm just very happy just living here and just.
What do you think about? I'm going to ask you straight up. What do you think about kids being outpriced a little bit from cost of hotels and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's supply and demand, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, it's like anything. Someone comes up to you and they're like, "Well, I'm going to pay you $1,000 to stay here," and something. You're not going to turn it away, are you? And it's obviously it's a it's the success can also lead to, you know, not being able to accommodate everybody who wants to come here. You know, like, because in the old days you came here for 2 weeks. You know, now you just come for a weekend, you know, or whatever. Or you know the party you want to go to. Back then, the only way you would get any info was from DJ Mag, and even that wouldn't be up to date. So you would get on the island and you'd be like, oh, look, such and such is playing here. I didn't know that. And then you would go, you know, whereas now, you know, before you get here, you got the ticket, you got everything, you know, you know exactly how much money you're going to spend that night or whatever.
Promoted to before you've even bought the flight sort of thing. Yeah.
And I don't see that, obviously, because I'm here all the time.
Yeah, but like when you say you're in your bubble, you really have created a situation for yourself where you can do that magic moment at Mambo, like sunset, and you kind of almost, you're outside of that almost a little bit. Again, I'd imagine.
What do you mean, like?
No, I mean, like, you know, you're there doing your thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same as it was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, for me, yeah. I mean, I feel the same pressure. I mean, you know, like I remember I did the opening party for Cream at Coup before they went to Amnesia in 95. And I think I went on after Parky, Grand Park. I went on at like 6 o'clock. And, you know, it must have been 8,000 people in there or whatever. And it didn't bother me a bit. But still, every night when I'm doing the sunset, because the thing is, if you mess up when you're playing out in a club, the next record will get you where you need to be. If you mess up the sunset at Mambo, you got to wait till your next set. It could be the next day. You can't wind the sun back.
And you've got 4,000 or 5,000 people there.
Yeah, I know.
And it's their moment.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Has that ever happened, or
I've
nailed it every time?
Tell us a fuck up.
Oh, blimey! Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've made a few mistakes over the years, but I mean nothing like major. Do you know what I mean? But it's funny. It was just strange things happening at sunset. It was like we used to get the ferry that came into San Antonio. Used to come past every night as I was doing the sunset, and it would send massive waves up to the shoreline and that. And one day a boat actually landed out front of Mambo on the rocks, and then the water went back out and it just stayed there, and it was a whole fishing boat, no one was on it. And the police came down and they're like standing next to it while I'm doing the sunset, and they didn't know what to do, so they wrote it a parking ticket, put it on and then off they went. Some poor saw that to come down and help drag it back into the sea, you know. Just
hope he paid the fine.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, you know, just anything can happen, you know.
I guess just to finish it off here, what kind of legacy do you want to leave, like, of Jason Pye on the island, and what does the kind of future hold for you on the island as well, and keep doing what you're doing? And I'm
a real Ibiza DJ. I think, you know, I've lived the dream really. I've done something 30 years ago that I never thought I would still be doing now. You know, and I didn't look at it that way either. It just went from one day to the next. And to be able to have, you know, to be so fortunate to be able to play the best clubs in the world, you know, here and abroad, you know, and the tours I've done of South America and America, and, you know, been, you know, Bosnia and, you know, just random places and all that. And I loved it, you know, not so much now because, you know, got the family, you know, my daughter, my wife, the dog, and things take organisation. But back then it was just get on a plane and go, you know, and to see the world like I've seen it is unbelievable, you know, and to turn up, play my favourite records, have a beer, have a fag. You know, it's like, you know, it's one of the only jobs in the world where they don't mind if you get pissed, you know what I mean? In the 90s, they actually made sure you got pissed because that was the thing, you know. It was like if you didn't end up at the bloody, what was the hotel? The
Manumission Motel.
Oh, yeah, if you didn't end up there while you were DJing over there.
You'd probably not come back. You're probably going to come back next week.
Derek DeLarge turned up one year and he didn't even go back, did he? He just disappeared into the motel.
Well, he got a dildo super glued to his head, didn't he? Do you remember that one?
Oh, wow.
Honestly, Jay, you're absolute Ibiza legend. Yeah. Absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. I really
enjoyed that. Like, I love hearing all these stories. Up the Spurs. We're in the semi-final now, so we'll see. By the time this comes out, we probably would have won it.
Here's too many more sunsets as well.
Yes,
because,
definitely.
You know,
well, I got about 80 of them booked in this year. So
I mean, I think the word is national treasure. If that existed in Ibiza, you'd be one of them, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Not too bad yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
That's my brother.